All right, so let's start. Today we're going to talk about building a world-class culture. And yeah, I mean, the whole goal of building in general, like a company culture and building a nice environment where people can thrive is a tough goal. And I would say it's an aspirational goal. So company culture is not something that you are going to iron or get right in the first try. This is something that requires time, dedication, and a lot of iterations. And one more important thing to say is that you cannot copy another company culture. That's a very unique combination of values, people, behaviors, and a lot of other things that we're gonna delve into in a couple of minutes. So yeah, you know, like everybody starts from somewhere. This year, actually, an interesting figure is that there was a record set in the U.S. by where there was the biggest number of founded companies, of new companies in the U.S. in the history this year. So during the pandemic, and a lot of people actually, when they start a new company or are running an existing one, they think about, okay, what are the foundation, what am I gonna do when I start this company? How can I set the right foundation? So usually, like, everybody starts a company with some nice concept. They think they got it right. They hire a nice team. They do a nice office, Google style, because people want to feel good. And they give people free snacks. They maybe have a cook, and they have team buildings and fun, picado, table football, everything. So everything looks right. And, they say, yeah, we're going to give everything to those people, and, they're just going to do amazing work. But what usually happens is that, it just doesn't go that way. So 5 years later, bam, the company is closed. Actually, if we look at the statistics for dead tech companies, you will see that very, very few percentages of new companies and then startups make it to the 5-year mark. Unfortunately, most of them actually is in the 1 year or 2 year mark. So after just a couple of years, most of the companies are dead. And this is really awful and sad, but let's try to understand why that happens. If we look at the statistics and the 10 main reasons why startups fail by CB Insights, we will see that the top reason, which we definitely agree with at Ministry of Programming, because we build startups and we see why they fail. We built more than 60 of them, and definitely product market fit is the number one reason why startups fail. What is product market fit? That's basically finding a product that people are going to want and use. So if you're building something that no one needs, which happens actually very often, as you can see here, or something that you think that people need, then you're going to fail. The second reason is lack of liquidity. Liquidity means money, if you are not familiar with the term. So either you run out of money, you took a loan, or you had an angel investor, or you had the money under your mattress that you invested in the company or whatever, and for some reason the money has run out and the company is dead. And now we're coming to the main failure reason of that is important to this presentation today, is actually the team failure, which accounts to 23% of startup fails. From our experience at MOP, actually, I would say that this number is even higher. And actually, a lot of startups die because of co-founder relations, of problems in how, problems and discrepancies in how the company is being run. So I would say the team failure is much more than 23%, but even this is a high number. Because if you have a great team and if the team is working well together, maybe you will find your way out of maybe a product that doesn't have the product market fit or doesn't have enough money, right? So I think that the team is really, really important, and how the team works and how it feels to work at that company and how people feel to work at that company not only the founders, it's really, really important. And that will converge into also success related to product and money and everything else. So yeah, I mean, what I would definitely say is culture is not your office and free snacks. That's just something that you see on the surface, and that's just like a very, very simplistic thing to look at. Companies are much more complex than that. And yeah, of course, I mean, we also have a nice office, but without the people inside of it, and without the right people inside of it and the right interactions, it's just a nice place for taking a nice picture like we did here. Okay, then the question is, how can I build the best company in the world? Tough question. Yeah, I mean, you can start by looking at what motivates you as a leader, as a company founder, as a manager. So when you start a new company, or you are running an existing one, usually you have some sort of leadership team. You have some founders that have some motives, and their motives and their vision is actually what is important in the beginning and also later, right? So the vision of the leadership of the company translates from top to bottom to your product leaders, team leads, middle management, whatever, right? So it starts from the top, and then that vision is translated to everybody else that need to run some specific teams. So depending on the size of the company, of course, basically the vision of the leadership is more or less important, and based on their involvement and how they basically transferred that vision and that culture to their subordinates, that's how the company is going to feel. So let's say if what motivates a founder is building the best place to work, they are going to achieve it in one way or another. A lot of people are also motivated by status and fame and making money. So maybe they want to get in a lot of nice magazines, to have a lot of conference appearances, to be in Forbes, or to drive a Porsche, making money, right? So what we have seen in hundreds of startups is that actually, I would say at least 20-30% of people are motivated solely by money, status, and fame. But also, if they are not, later when they get in those nice magazines and everything else, they want the status and fame, and then kind of they lose the connection between them and the team. And it's no one gets this right. I just want to make it clear, but it's very important to acknowledge that, because when you get in a position of power, how you start behaving is what defines you as a leader. So yeah, definitely, the company is a reflection of yourself, your values and beliefs. So what you set as the company values, what you deem important, is going to translate into your subordinates and employees and everybody else and your colleagues. So for example, if you really believe in hard work, and if you think that people are just, let's say, cogs in a machine, and that everybody needs to do their thing, people are going to need to work hard to stay in the company. So it's, if you believe, let's say, in remote work, in flexibility, if you want to have that kind of life, everybody in the company are going to feel that, right? So everything starts from the leadership team, and then goes down below. But the important thing here is that, as the company gets bigger, if you have, let's say, 50, 100, 200, 1,000 employees, every person needs to be onboarded correctly in terms of cultural values, because when the company grows bigger, they become your ambassadors. So when the company grows bigger, when you have a lot of people, you need to train them correctly. They need to constantly talk with your culture officer, or with the founders, or with anyone who understands what the company culture is. That's really, really important to acknowledge. And if you don't do this kind of work, if you just let it happen, let's say, in a random way, of course, the company is going to evolve in some maybe unwanted directions. So you will start to see some crazy happenings in the ranks. You will start to see both some good and bad behaviors, some strange groups of people that are doing stuff in a specific way that is maybe different from the initial vision that was set by in the beginning. So yeah, take a close look at what people are doing, and help them understand the company goals, the company culture, the values. It's very, very important to continuously talk with people so they understand. Yeah, so I would definitely say that a world-class culture is all around people. The people are the number one most important thing. It's not even about the business, or it's not about your concept or whatever you happen to be doing. Something that I would share with you as well is, let's say, when Y Combinator is taking a new round of startups. Like periodically, they take a team with a specific idea, but what happens in many cases is that the initial idea that the team got into Y Combinator with, and the idea they exit Y Combinator from is completely different. So let's say Y Combinator looks at people; they don't look at your idea, so they don't care what are you going to build. They look at the team, they look at what you have to say. So they ask you some questions like, okay, what would you do if your co-founder screwed you over? They ask you like stuff that doesn't have anything to do with your specific concept, because people usually think, okay, I'm going to build something, I'm going to, I have this amazing idea, but eventually it all revolves around people, because if you don't have the right team, the right combination, the right sauce, it's just not going to happen. What we did here at MOP in the beginning is that we hired mostly family and people that we knew, and that's a competitive advantage that we had in a small city like Sarajevo. So we made sure that we hired people like Jenan, Dida, Kula, and really, really good people that were like there in the beginning of the company, that we knew, that we worked with before. So we knew like their cultural values, we knew like how they approach work, we knew like how hard they work, we knew them from some tough situations with other employees from companies from before. And we basically set this foundation where we didn't have any unknown employees until, let's say, 20 or 30. And even after that, we continued mostly recruiting by referrals, and referrals are a good way to hire new employees, because when a good employee that you value refers somebody, usually they refer someone that is similar to them. They refer somebody that they like. They refer a person that has the right approach to the job. So people. Yeah, and if you offer people flexibility, and if you allow them to go places, to travel, to work together, to be healthy, to have fun, a lot of really, really cool stuff starts happening. Yeah. So as we said, company values are the foundation if you stick to them. So this is the small culprit, because a lot of companies have some company values that are somewhere on the wall, but if you look inside, everything is rotten, right? And usually when companies advertise for jobs, they write a lot of nice things about them. We have ping pong tables, we have an open culture, we have this, we have that, but when people get in, they realize that was a lie. And a lot of developers and creative workers have started, even, let's say, to ignore what the company is officially saying, but they instead use tools like Glassdoor, or they ask around, or they look at forums or whatever, to see what the company is really about, because what they say and what they do are on two different parts. And this is something that is really, really interesting. So it's important to stick to the values. If you have some values, you need to exercise them from top to bottom, like in the ranks, in the teams, on the products, on the project that you're working on every day, every day. And I will share here now a couple of values that we have at MOP. I will not go into many details, but I will just try to give you the overall values and a couple of examples on each one of them. The most important value that we have at MOP is transparency by far. So we believe in sharing what we know. We basically share everything with everyone who's interested. We reject secrecy, obscurity, and opacity in all forms. For us, transparency is the #1 value by all means. And this is something that's really, really important to us. So transparency is about over-communication. What over-communication means? A lot of your colleagues think that maybe sometimes they should not write something somewhere because it is too much information, or they want to take it privately with someone and then they are going to come with a result. If you look at your Slack statistics, if you are using Slack as a chat tool for collaboration, you can look at, you know, the ratio of direct messages versus public messages, private group messages, etc. And like companies like Buffer, let's say, they try to have a ratio of at least 85% messages in public channels. Public channels means that everybody can access that information. What usually happens, especially in cultures like, let's say, in Eastern Europe, Bosnia and Herzegovina, wherever, is that because the general, let's say, culture in the workforce is a bit different compared to, let's say, San Francisco or Berlin or whatever you want to gauge yourself to, is that the people don't understand transparency. They communicate a lot with direct messages. Sometimes it's very tough to reverse that kind of mindset. But generally, every kind of information should be available to anyone when they look at it. And it's not about, you know, having too many channels. It's not about, you know, like dying on Slack because you have 1,000 messages. You should be able to access the information, but also you have mechanisms like muting channels. You have mechanisms like filtering things where you can control how many things you get. This is also related to email. This also relates to meetings. So let's say you should have an open calendar where people can see what meetings are happening in your team and in the company. And you know what we have is that anyone can join a meeting if they want, ideally, right? So you see the meetings in the calendar, and if you want, you can join. You see the groups on Slack. You can join if you are interested in a specific topic. Your teams communicates publicly because it prevents a whole lot of issues that happen by not communicating and not communicating enough as well. One problem, let's say, with developers and maybe most creative workers like designers, etc., is that, you know, because they are trying to produce something, sometimes they don't communicate enough. Basically, they are stuck inside Visual Studio or their tool for, I don't know, Sketch or Figma or whatever, and they are working on something, right? And then they don't communicate what they're working on. And then sometimes some very cryptic stuff happens, like, you know, yeah, where is this guy? I mean, you know, he had to finish this yesterday, but we don't have any updates, right? So it's very important to give consistent updates, to talk about the things that you're working on, take screenshots, film videos, and a lot of nice things that we are doing at MOP. The second value is accountability. So we believe in clarity, ownership, and commitment to deliver our own and team results. So every individual needs to be highly responsible in the flexible work system to achieve the collective results. So a flexible work system means that you have all the freedom to work wherever you want, whenever you want, which we do. And what that means is that, you know, maybe now I'm sitting in a pretty deserted office, right? And while we have 120 employees, I don't really care where they are. What I care is, you know, that they deliver results. I also don't care if they are working 5 hours or 8 hours today. I always say to people, like, the outcome is important. So if you are able to finish something in 5 hours or 3 hours, and somebody else needs 10 hours to finish the same thing, I don't care. You can go and take an ice cream, take a walk, get out for a lunch, for a longer lunch or whatever. So we don't look at the work hours. We give people like everything that they need to accomplish the job, and we just look at the outcome. If the release is on Friday, I don't care if people are working at night or in the morning or in the middle of the day or whatever. We had situations where even some co-workers were coming to work just to have fun. So you would ask Dino, okay, I mean, why are you coming to work? He said, I'm just coming to work to have fun with people, to see people, because that's not where the actual work happens. The actual work happens on my computer at 11 p.m., where I'm in my pajama, and I'm just like doing my thing, right? So you should not care about where and how the work happens. What you should care is the actual result. And that's very important. And continuous improvement. You should work with the team to continuously improve things, processes, procedures, interactions, to ensure we're always ahead of the game and evolving into the best version of our team. So definitely all is not good. A lot of people choose complacency. They choose to see like a suboptimal system as good enough. That's also something that the society is teaching us. We look at systems, at environments, and at things, at relationships as basically we look at them as imperfect, but we don't do anything to change them for the better, right? We don't get out to protest. We don't, go to our company leader or to the CEO. We don't go even to our team lead. We don't go to the other person that we're working with and to say, hey man, this is something that is not right. I don't like how you did this, So what we want at the company, because we are working with startups, we are investing a lot of money in startups as well. So in order to not burn money or to burn as little as possible, it's important to have critical thinkers. And critical thinkers are asking a lot of questions. They are poking people. They are telling you, no, I don't like this. They are telling you, yes, I like this. You should do this better. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have critical people and if you don't encourage critical thinking and continuous improvement in your company, the company is going to stagnate or is going to gradually die. And what you see out there, which is maybe important for this conference, is that in the service industries, or there is like a lot of worldwide competition, and we love to see ourselves here in this part of the world, in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in the region, as a little bit higher quality service providers compared maybe to some other parts of the world. And but we are not going to get there, or we're not going to be that if we don't do continuous improvement. So it's important for the whole industry, for every company to be as better as possible. And the next value is value creation. So we believe that it's essential to deliver values to employees and clients daily. And we care about what we do, and also go beyond the job description to create a wow effect in every interaction. So an effect of wow, how are we going to create an effect of wow? We are definitely not going to create it by waiting for a ticket from your Scrum Master, from your project manager, or whatever you have in the company. So if you are just waiting for the ticket and saying, Vedran didn't open a ticket, I'm blocked, I'm blocked. And then you write in your daily update in the morning that you were blocked because you didn't have a ticket. But that's something that I personally hate, and that's something that we installed in the company culture, is that, there's always one way to add value, right? Like there are multiple ways to add value. There is not one way to add value. So if you don't have a ticket, who cares? I mean, you can work on something else. You can refactor the code. You can write a nice proposal. You can take a look. There are so many things that you can do during the day that don't relate to the, let's say, robotic things that you're doing day to day. You can give an opinion about something to somebody else. So it's about being creative, about being engaged, about thinking with your head, instead of just kind of waiting for instructions. And this is one more thing that we as a product company struggled with, because in the outsourcing industry, in the traditional outsourcing industry, everything is driven by these routines and by having, tickets and tasks, and by the kind of, let's say, mouse wheel. So we need to get out of the mouse wheel. We need to think like as creative people. We need to give feedback to other things. That's really, really important. Emotional intelligence. So you are part of a team. Many times you should put yourself in other people's shoes and learn about their challenges, motivations, strengths, weaknesses, and help them succeed. What this means is that, in order to be emotionally intelligent, you cannot think that you are always right. You need to work with data. And one interesting thing about data is that, for example, Google doesn't allow anyone to present anything or to pitch anything without having a screen where they show what the change means, to show some use cases, to show some statistics, to show something. So if you are pitching a change, or if you want to do something differently, arguing without data is very bad, right? So you should be intelligent how you approach that, both emotionally but also data-wise, right? So you should present things by looking at statistics, by doing research, by presenting things in a structured manner. And very importantly, it's important to understand if you have a diverse team, different cultures, and we cannot ignore the differences between different cultures and different kinds of people, between, people from diverse backgrounds, from different religions, from different ethnic backgrounds, or whatever you want to take. So it's important to acknowledge that and to have an open discussion, of course, with respect in mind. And if there is a problem, there is a way to solve it without getting too heated, right? Hopefully. So here now I have some mechanisms at MOP. This is not the full list. This is just some mechanisms that we use to ensure that this company culture is working steadily. As we were founded, basically we started as a family company with family members, right? So we had at least 4 family members starting the company, and then we moved even with more in the company evolution. So we are behaving like a family, but only the good parts. So we are not, let's say, protecting the family if they do something wrong. That's very important. We are not protecting our friends that we know from before. They all have their responsibilities. They need to behave like everybody else. That's really, really important. And then, of course, open communication via Slack, mail, open groups, open calendars. Everybody should be able, as I said previously when we talked about transparency, to access things. So then we also have a monthly all hands meeting with full transparency towards all employees. All companies have some sort of all hands or all town or or company hall or whatever. There are many different names for this kind of meeting, but that's the meeting where everyone comes together. And our meeting, our all hands meeting is very, very transparent. So we share also financial data, problems in the company. When we had some huge issues in the beginning of 2019, we stood in front of all employees and told them what the problems are, and we told them what's going to happen. So it's it's very important to not cover for the bad things, to not tell who is getting fired, why. It's very important to address those things. Also, we have an open door policy for upper management, which means that anyone can enter the virtual door or approach us or tell us something. We are not superhuman or anything. I think it's very important to listen to the smart people that you have in the company. Also, we try to be as flat as possible, no hierarchy. One interesting thing is that founders and C-level and management, at least, the founders and C-level have no desks in the offices. A couple of people have desks, but they sit with everyone else. So they don't have some separate offices. When I come to the office, I sit at an empty place. I don't want a desk. And I'm doing that on purpose because I want to set an example that people can approach me. And when you start dividing yourself from the people that you are leading, then then you start losing the touch with them. Then you start losing the feel for what's happening on the field, and you don't want that. It's very important to sit with everyone else. And of course, because of the inward and outward communication and organization, people do have some role names. But if you look in reality at what they're doing many different things. So that's why there is like this no hierarchy. It doesn't mean that everybody are like software engineers, or they don't have different names or different levels or whatever. But it's about being flat in the way how you behave every day. Also, one more thing that we do is the trust and no working hours, as I explained previously, and full remote work flexibility and async work model. This is a perk, but it's also a philosophy, because when you allow this level of freedom, like the one that we have at Ministry of Programming, it's crazy, because you just don't care, right? You communicate asynchronously. People don't need to be online all the time. You don't expect to see the green dot, somebody to reply instantaneously, and what it takes like a great amount of trust from the leadership. One more mechanism that you can use is feedback gathering. We do some start, stop, continue workshops, surveys. We continuously get the feedback from different teams, different products that we're building, from the customers, from the founders of the companies where we invested at. We consistently talk with them, and then we relay that feedback to the people that are actually working on the product. But also they get direct feedback because they are directly involved in products. So they are not behind some sort of firewall. They are not behind a PM. It's very important that people communicate directly with both the customers and, let's say, with the company founders. So if we are building a product for, cancer patients, like war on cancer, our employees are able to communicate with the founders of that company. They're able to communicate also with the customers of the company. They can reach out to somebody that they see on the nice news feed that they built. So feedback gathering that goes, let's say, 360 from all kind of angles. And when you gather feedback, you're able to act on it. Also, regular feedback to employees with one-on-ones, development talks, and cultural direction. Cultural direction happens usually in one-on-ones or DTs as well, or also in some informal situations, water cooler conversations. You see somebody did something bad or something that you didn't like. You say, hey, let's just chat for a minute, and you tell them, hey, the way how you behaved with Sally, I didn't like it. I think you should do this and that, because, and then they're, yeah, but I didn't mean anything bad. Okay, but the way how you behaved was bad. So it's very important to act when you see something, and that doesn't happen only in the regular performance meetings. And we have this also continuous delivery mindset, CI/CD, that was set by the founders, but also by people like Ziad and Kenan, and like all of our DevOps personnel. That is really amazing. And it's very important to acknowledge that continuous delivery is also a huge philosophy by itself, and it means delivering value. It's one of our core values, but also but also it's important like on each level of the organization, but for engineers as well, practically. And yeah, everyone practically runs the company by doing these kind of practices and mechanisms. Everyone runs the company. So it's not like a cheesy thing to say, but sometimes we get in and we see, okay, stuff is just happening. Many times we're not even asked about things that we should be asked for, or things are just happening by itself, because when you give people freedom and direction, then you don't have all the pressure on your back, and that's the successful moment. That's the good moment. A lot of company owners still want to hold tight. They want to understand what's happening on the field. They go down there, they call somebody on the phone, they call a developer, they say, hey, what are you doing today? They want to understand and to know everything. And of course, you should be able, by the transparency means, to inspect things. You should be able to take a look at things, but you should not micromanage people every day. That's also one thing that is really cool. We are getting towards the end of the presentation, and then we will leave some space for questions and answers. Some additional resources that you can take a look at are from cultural powerhouses like Netflix, Basecamp, and Google. Netflix is especially amazing in terms of their cultural values. I would recommend to look at that. In terms of transparency, which I said is one of the most important things at MOP as well, Buffer is definitely the #1 leader, I would say, in the tech industry. Buffer is even disclosing salaries of everyone in the company, which is a pretty crazy thing to do, right? So I would definitely encourage you to take a look at their blog, and you know, there are a lot of videos out there and stuff about Buffer. Also, a couple of good books that we like to recommend is Work Rules by Laszlo Bock from Google. This is an amazing book, and Laszlo is just, you know, you need to read this. One more book, it's not gonna be too much, is Radical Candor by Kim Scott. This book is about being candid in the way how you talk with people, about telling them directly what you think. So about building a non-political environment, which is one of the most important things, especially in these parts of the world where people are used to politics and to building like some groups and, you know, to divide themselves. It's always us and them, and always like also in the service industry, it's something that is very prevalent, like the us and them mentality. So it's us, you know, it could be an office in Belgrade or Sarajevo or Zagreb or whatever, and them, you know, it could be the US, or, you know, it could be an office in London. So it's very important to build these non-political environments where people give constant feedback to each other and where people understand how to get feedback, so they don't get emotional intelligence, right? Yeah, with these nice books, I would finish my presentation. Thank you again to Bosnia Agile, and thank you guys for listening to me.